All right, we'll start with our top story. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has arrived in New Delhi for his first visit to the country as the head of the government. He will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi for bilateral talks this evening. The 14th India-Japan Annual Summit will be the first meeting of PM Modi and PM Kishida. India and Japan have multifaceted cooperation within the ambit of their special strategic and global partnership. The summit will provide an opportunity for both sides to review and strengthen the bilateral cooperation in diverse areas. The leaders will also exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest so as to advance the partnership for peace, stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond. Notably, this is Kishida's first bilateral visit since his appointment as Prime Minister. Right, my colleague Vikas Sarthi joins us to talk more on this. Vikas, like we were talking about earlier, first of all, tell us in detail the schedule of Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's visit to New Delhi. Where is he heading towards? And he's expected to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi at 5 p.m. in the evening.
Right, Abhishek. So, as around 3:35 p.m. at the scheduled time, the special aircraft landed in Delhi, landed at Palam Technical Airport, and PM Kishida has come with a huge business delegation as well. And in fact, later in the day, around 5 p.m., there will be a talk between the business delegation of India and Japan at Hyderabad House, and later the bilateral talks between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Kishida will also take place at Hyderabad House. So this visit is very significant since this is the first face-to-face meeting of Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Kishida. Though earlier, when Mr. Kishida was elected as the Prime Minister, he had a telephonic conversation with Prime Minister Modi, and this will be the first face-to-face meeting of both leaders. So, as I was mentioning earlier, that both leaders have already met at different occasions. At that point in time, Mr. Kishida was Foreign Minister of Japan, and the interesting fact is when Prime Minister Modi, after assuming charge as Prime Minister in 2014, the first visit of Prime Minister Modi was of Japan, and during that visit also, Mr. Kishida, in capacity of Foreign Minister, welcomed Prime Minister Modi and had a brief conversation with PM Modi. So both leaders know each other very well, and the kind of relationship between what we have witnessed between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, we expect that kind of relationship will be again witnessed between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Kishida, since both leaders know each other very well. In fact, whatever the upgradation we have seen between bilateral relationship between India and Japan, we have witnessed most of the time. Mr. Kishida was the foreign minister, especially when India and Japan decided to upgrade their relationship from strategic and global partnership to special strategic and global partnership in 2014. That time also Mr. Kishida was foreign minister. So huge expectations from his visit. This is going to be a very important visit for both countries as well, because both have time and again reiterated that there must be a status quo in Indo-Pacific region, and no country should not show any kind of influence in this particular region. Apart from it, what we are witnessing as of now at the global scale, like the ongoing fight between Russia and Ukraine and other global factors are also, so those issues will also be discussed between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Kishida.
Right, Vikas, like you mentioned, very important and significant visit, and he'll also meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India-Japan Annual Summit. And we all know the previous India-Japan Annual Summit was held in October 2018, but it could not be held for 3 years for different reasons in 19, 20 and 21. But like you also mentioned, as foreign minister's capacity, he has already visited India. I'm talking about Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. But like you mentioned, this visit is aimed at restarting the annual summits between India and Japan, and also, like you mentioned, the situation in Ukraine is also likely to be discussed when he meets Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Right, Abhishek. It is expected that certainly the issue of Ukraine will be discussed between two leaders. It is highly expected that both leaders will discuss their positions since both are member of Quad as well. And so, what will be the strategy of Quad towards this particular crisis? This is likely to be discussed. Apart from it, we have seen what just mentioned that the bilateral summit could not happen because of external reasons. So it's a big opportunity for both leaders to resume those issues, those bilateral treaties, and we can see this also in the huge delegation. Prime Minister Kishida has come with a big business delegation, and there are also reports from Japanese media that Japan may offer a huge loan to India. The Nikkei has reported that more than $40 billion loan is expected from Japan. Apart from it, very important projects are going in India, whether it's bullet train project or we have seen in the past that different metro projects were not only Japan provided loans for them but also provided technology. So both countries shared a long relationship of decades, and now at this point in time when the world is witnessing so many crises and so many factors which are affecting the trade, this particular visit is going to be very important for both the countries.
Right, like you mentioned, Vikas, discussions expected to focus on cementing the security ties, boosting supply chain resilience and managing also, you think, China's influence in the Indo-Pacific, that can also be discussed between Japanese Prime Minister and Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Right, Abhishek. This is going to be one of the main agenda. In fact, before his departure to India, Prime Minister Kishida talked about his expectations from this visit, and when he talked to local media, he raised two issues, particularly the situation in Ukraine, what should be the role of Quad in dealing with that crisis, and without naming China, he said that Japan reiterates that no country should try to influence its presence in Indo-Pacific region, and any kind of change in status quo in Indo-Pacific is not accepted for Japan. And in fact, PM Kishida says that he shares that he thinks that the same will be the sentiments of Indian government as well. So these are the points which have been discussed by Prime Minister Kishida before his departure from Tokyo. So we expect that these issues will be taken up in bilateral discussion.
Right, Vikas, stay with us. I'll come back to you. Arun Sharma, my colleague, is also joining us to talk more on this. Arun, like we were talking about, the primary focus of this visit is to strengthen the partnership in the Indo-Pacific region. But I want to know from you, how important do you think the visit is? The timing I'm talking about, when Russia and Ukraine are at the loggerheads. Very pertinent and very important to understand the timing of it. What do you make of it? Arun? Arun, can you hear us? Right, we'll try and connect with Arun once again. But Vikas, I'll come back to you again. While Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's visit to India is an important step, like you were also saying, for the strategic cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region, but the diplomatic angle of this visit should also be explored. India's stand in the Russia-Ukraine conflict might also be discussed, considering the stand of different countries and the sanctions that have been imposed on Russia by the different countries and the European countries and also the US.
Right, Abhishek. So, in fact, like the other countries, Japan has also announced strict sanctions against Russia over stand of Russia on Ukraine issue. So another issue which is likely to be discussed, which is highly there is huge possibility of discussion between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Kishida, is the stand of Quad members. What should be the next course of action of Quad to deal with this kind of situation, because the Russia-Ukraine crisis is resulting in a in a big energy crisis as well. So what is going to be the stand of Quad members to deal with this kind of global challenges? But again, India and Japan has a long-standing relationship, bilateral relationship, other than some other forums, multi forums like Quad or East Asia Forum. Both countries have similar interests. In fact, both countries have protected interest of each other in the past as well. Beginning, if we talk about history, in fact, one of the judges, when there was a tribunal set up against Japan, there was an Indian judge who was the lone dissenter against any sanctions against Japan. So India is seen as a natural ally, as a natural friend, which shares common interest with Japan. And in fact, we are in the 70th year of the bilateral relationship, but we have seen a boost, certainly after 2014, when Prime Minister Modi came into the power. And in fact, after that, the level of strategic partnership has been increased. Both countries treat each other as a special strategic partner on the global forum. So both countries, India and Japan, have always tried to protect their interests, whether it is a global forum or it is a regional forum. We have been protecting our interests. And again, if you look at the stand of Japan on the issue of maintaining status quo in Indo-Pacific region, certainly India shares the same concern which Japan has expressed. So these are the issues which directly impact India and Japan equally, and both countries will discuss what should be their stand in the future, especially keeping in mind the global crisis, global energy crisis, as well as the going tension in Russia and Ukraine, and some kind of strategy to deal with the upcoming challenges.
Absolutely. The summit would be the first meeting of the two leaders. Thank you, Vikas. Thank you for giving us your vital inputs. But before embarking on the visit, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida shared his thoughts in an op-ed column in the Indian Express newspaper. Here are the main excerpts of the column, which also throw light on the importance Japan attaches to its relations with India. Kishida has written that Japan and India are special strategic and global partners which share strategic interest. He added that, as the name Special Strategic and Global Partnership suggests, Japan-India relations have evolved into an inclusive and multi-layered relationship based on cultural bonds, firm friendship and common universal values. I've been concentrating on measures to overcome the COVID-19 and working towards the realization of a new form of capitalism that will revive the economy through a virtuous cycle of growth and distribution. India is certainly the best partner to have when seeking to realize a new form of capitalism, as showcased in India's contribution in response to the global health crisis as a major manufacturing base, leadership in decarbonization efforts, including through the International Solar Alliance, engagement in advanced digital society initiatives such as Aadhaar, and promotion of economic security initiatives, including measures for supply chain resilience. Upholding the core principles of the international order is indispensable from the perspective of diplomacy and security in the Indo-Pacific. Japan will unite with the international community and take resolute actions. In the recent Japan, Australia, India, US Quad leaders video conference, we concurred that any attempt to unilaterally change the status quo by force must not be tolerated in the Indo-Pacific region, and that it is precisely because of this situation that it is critical to further promote efforts towards the realization of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Apart from this, he also raised the issue of new international challenges like cybersecurity and climate change, reform of international organization. Right, my colleague Arun Sharma is joining us to talk more on this. Arun, like we were talking with Vikas Arthi also, it's very important visit as far as the discussions are concerned. He'll also meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi at around 5 p.m. and the discussions expected to focus on the cementing security ties, boosting supply chain resilience, and also managing China's influence in the Indo-Pacific.
So Abhishek, a lot of things and a wide spectrum of issues are likely to dominate when the two leaders, meet at the Hyderabad house at around 5 p.m. But interestingly, the Japan's Nikkei, the news agency Nikkei, is quoting that Japan is all set to make an announcement of an investment worth $42 billion. That means 5 trillion yen. That's what Japan's Nikkei, the leading news agency, is quoting, that the Japan is likely to announce a $42 billion of investment in India. Now, this is going to be very much significant if, it materializes. And of course, in this post-COVID pandemic time, every country is looking forward to make an investment, a lucrative investment rather. The investment is limited. So yes, the value for money economies, the emerging economies are all set to attract that investment, and India is that lucrative destination primarily. And that's what, the focus area has been. Japan, yes, a major investor as far as India is concerned, and Japanese companies are already dominating the Indian markets. They are they're manufacturing under the Make in India initiative. They are contributing in the India's economy or the Atmanirbhar Bharat story. So this $42 billion of investment, this announcement is likely to have a mega impact in this post-COVID time specifically. Second important aspect is that in order to give a major push to the green energy, Japan's Suzuki is likely to, or there is likely to be an MOU that ensures an investment worth $1.3 billion can be invested for electric vehicles, or passenger electric vehicles segment, that can be, focused upon. So that is likely to be focused upon according to Japan's Nikkei, the leading newspaper. So yes, in this post-COVID pandemic time when, India is looking forward to become Atmanirbhar, India is looking forward to become, the part of the global supply chain. So in that context, this partnership, this investment is going to be very much significant going forward. Also, we know this fact that Japanese are already, investing, and as far as the high-speed rail network is concerned between Ahmedabad and Mumbai. So it is very much likely that both the leader, the Indian leadership and the Japanese leadership will be reviewing the high-speed rail network project between Ahmedabad and Mumbai, which is very much likely to be completed before 2024. So this also strengthens the infrastructure of our country. On the other side, various other projects or MOUs related to reducing the carbon footprint or the carbon emissions, that is likely to be there dominating the agenda. Second important aspect is that, how can technology transfer can be done as far as urban infrastructure is concerned, because India is building up more than 100 smart cities now. So how can these smart cities network primarily can be strengthened? The tier 2 towns specifically, which are primarily the smart cities, do lack the technological aspect. So yes, how can Japanese technology can help in becoming, or primarily in creating these smart cities in our country? That can be also of various significance. So yes, apart from various other multilateral issues concerning the Indo-Pacific, the interesting aspect that India is looking forward is to attract more and more investment in this post-COVID time. And if Japan invests this $42 billion of investment in India, if to give a major push to the electric vehicle segment or the green energy in our country, if a $1.3 billion of investment, that's what the Nikkei, the Japanese news agency, is quoting. If that materializes, this is going to give a major push to India's electric vehicle segment or the green energy segment. Because remember, Abhishek, that in this year's union budget, India has announced a battery swapping policy. Mega allocation has been done as far as giving a major push to the green energy in our country. So in that context, the transfer of technology, as far as reducing the carbon footprint or carbon emission. Number two, as far as urban mobility, as far as the smart city mechanisms. If the MOUs are signed, this is going to help India a lot in that direction. And this visit of Japanese Prime Minister is going to be very significant in that aspect.
Absolutely,
Abhishek.
Arun. And also before we leave you, and Japan, like you mentioned, is a key partner in India's economic transformation and also now ranks third among the major investors. And in the recent past also, if you see, India's partnership with Japan has grown substantially. And 2022 is a special year. It marks 70 years of diplomatic relations between the two nations. And like you mentioned, the aim now is to create plenty of opportunities for both sides in the year 2022.
Absolutely. So 70 years of the diplomatic ties. Also, Japan is a trusted partner of India, be it the economical aspect, be it the strategic aspect. Japan has contributed, India-Japan relationship, has a multi-dimension approach primarily. So in that context, yes, this visit of Japanese Prime Minister is going to be very much significant. Number one, the Indo-Pacific aspect as to how security or how secure Indo-Pacific can be made going forward. Number two, the aspect will be a Quad meeting. Last time when India participated in the Quad meeting in USA, at the time also the Indian leadership, the American leadership, the Australian and the Japanese leadership focused upon the fact that how can COVID-19, that can be combated? How can vaccine capabilities can be enhanced or the strengthened going forward globally? How can vaccine equity can be ensured by these Quad leaders or the Quad countries primarily? So that was a focus area. Now, as Japan has announced that in a couple of, or in a short time from now, we'll be having a Quad meeting in Tokyo as well, for which Japan is preparing. So in that context, what can be the responsibility role of these Quad countries as far as Indo-Pacific is concerned, specifically in this post-COVID pandemic time? That is going to be very much significant. And as far as economic aspect is concerned, yes, Japan is going to play an important role. As far as the vaccine capabilities are concerned, India is the pharmacy to the world. India has extended help to more than 100 countries as far as providing vaccines or providing the healthcare equipments or healthcare aids to other countries. And yes, in that context, India and Japan's partnership
and also, Arun, I need to ask you this, how important the timing is. I'm asking this question because we all know Russia and Ukraine are at the loggerheads. Very important and pertinent to know the importance of the timing also. What do you make of it?
Absolutely. So Russia-Ukraine, this crisis is dominating, this visit, that is for sure. The kind of leadership role taken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in evacuation of Indian nationals, that plays, a very significant role. India's stance has been very much clear on the Russia-Ukraine aspect, and it's that there has to be a peaceful dialogue between Russia and Ukraine. Humanity is something that needs to be saved, and India has taken a leadership role in that aspect. There are entire West is putting up sanctions on Russia. We have seen Japan also putting up sanctions on Russia, but ultimately India's stance is very much clear that there has to be a peaceful dialogue. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also urged both the Russian leadership and the Ukrainian leadership to have a direct conversations, to have a dialogue primarily, and to find out a peaceful resolution or the solution primarily for this, the crisis or that we are witnessing as of now. But the world has seen that how India played a leadership role as far as evacuation of its Indian nationals. We have evacuated close to 25,000, Indian nationals from Ukraine, the war-torn country, and of course that was the priority of India. India has also provided the humanitarian aid to Ukraine as well. So at every point in time, at every level, primarily India has maintained this stance that there has to be peaceful dialogue. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held, when he held his conversation with the Russian leadership and the Ukrainian leadership, the focus was very much clear on that aspect. Yes, this visit of Japanese Prime Minister comes at a time when the Russia-Ukraine crisis has intensified further. But yes, the focus will be on the peaceful Indo-Pacific region. Number two, how to attract investment in this post-COVID pandemic time, and this is going to be a very big highlight. A $42 billion or 5 trillion yen of investment comes from Japanese side. This is going to be game changer India-Japan's relationship.
Absolutely, Arun. In a few minutes, in half an hour time, Fumio Kishida is scheduled to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We'll come back to you. Thanks for the time being.